3, Exile. Well, I must admit, when this game first came out in 2001, I don't think I could have gotten it on my computer. It was starting to enter the time when my computer that I had was not able to play certain games. And I'm a little upset about that at the time. I mean, there were some games I could manage to play, but I just never got the Myst past the second game in the Myst series until much later in life. But, I'm a little sorry I missed out on this opportunity when it first came out because it was a very beautiful game when I finally got to play it. And it featured some nice things. I mean, if you're familiar with the Myst series, uh, everything is just point and click with the first two games. And that's because of the limitations of the time. And in this case, you had the time. This time around, when you went to a spot, because they hadn't introduced anything like free roam until later in the series, much later in the series, you could actually go to a spot and do a complete 360 turn, which was amazing. You didn't have to click to look left, click to look right, and all that. And that's part of the beauty of it. It was just a free look around. And I have to admit, the ages in the game are very, very beautiful. Very dynamic, too. A bit of dynamicness in them, too. Which shows that the systems were evolving to what they could do. I also have to admit, it has very nice music in it. And the puzzles that are involved in each age are very clever. Of course, the story behind these ages that you encounter they were designed to be teaching ages. So, and Atreus hoped his sons would learn from them. He was just not aware of how they were at the time. And your main antagonist, I believe the name is Saavedro, he had been a friend of Atreus. But then when the boys showed their true colors, he thought Atreus had betrayed him, especially that Atreus hadn't come back. Now, there's no way of knowing that. He had no way of knowing that Atreus had so many things going on, or his own imprisonment, so to speak. Hence, he's also surprised when Atreus doesn't show up, but you do. Now, this also established something. You and Atreus are still friends. You are the same person who helped him in the first two games. So you are obviously a friend of the family to him. This also shows you managed to survive the Star Fissure at the end of Riven. So one can only assume that you managed to catch up to the book and drift out of there. But the beauty of this is that it was such a well done story, and it's the first time we end up seeing Yisha, who is the third child of Atris and Tiana. Now, Atris has been busy. He has created a new age for the survivors of the Dunny people. And this is something I will talk more about when I go over the complete series. But in the time between 2 and 3, Atris has found his people, survivors of the fall of Dunny, and has been working on creating a new home for them, which is downright noble. Now, just as everything is about to, be finished, Saavedro comes along, and he snatches the book. So now you must go. He also trashes the lab that Adris did most of his work in. So in this sense, you are now trying to catch up on, you are trying to reclaim the book, which is a task in and of itself. Since Saavedro thought Atris would come, he made it a little tricky. Changing the test ages, as well as leaving hints of what happened to him. Now, Saavedro has survived for 20 years or so, however long, in isolation, feeling his world is dead. And he's unable to get back to it. And given you can understand his madness, you can sympathize with this villain. He's taking his anger out on the wrong person, but he also doesn't know this. He was unaware of what the boys had done to Atris. He was unaware of that Atris was unaware of their actions until it was too late. And he's an interesting character, and he's played by Brad Dourif. Now, if you don't know Brad Dourif by now, he is a veteran actor. He has played a fair amount of crazed characters in his time. He's also the long-standing portrayer of Chucky in the Child's Play series. And that is a remarkable actor. I remember even seeing him in an episode of Law & Order SVU, in which he played a specialist on fires and arson and how a fire pattern can spread. In fact, it was his testimony that cleared the person of the crime the man was committed, because they were framing it, they thought the man committed arson, and what it ended up being was it was just a damn unfortunate accident. And Brad Dourif actually took the role because he was a fan of the first two games. So this is a honor. I mean, not many actors, even at this time, would make it to a game. And so, when you have a big name actor doing a acting role in a game at this time, it was amazing. Especially one that was such a high caliber as I think Brad Dourif was at the time. And I've said about the music. I've actually of these games, I've actually heard the soundtrack of the later Myst games before I even played them, and I've always been a fan of the music from the series. And it's a beautiful, beautiful series. They when they made these games, they put a lot into them, a lot of love into these games. You could tell, and three flows very seamlessly into the storyline of the other games, and I have to commend that. It gave us background into Cirrus and Achenar, as well as Atris, because you understood that Atris was a very caring person for everybody. However, with his intellect, you could see that he can easily get lost in his work. It was a beautiful, beautiful game. I admit that one of my favorite ages in this game was the one known as Amateria. And this puzzle age, it was beautiful because you have to figure out each part in a specific order. And then once you figure out the parts and get them to completion, you move on to you actually go through the whole thing. It's like you become a human pinball. And I liked that. That was very clever. And it's clever because you have to figure things out. You have to literally think things out. Which way you start with a bunch of loops that the marbles have to go through. And to make it a little bit odder, they go through these gates and teleport. Then you have to, smooth out the path that has to go on so it continues on the path with a lever and a weighted balance type thing. And then you have to correctly set up some more warp things so the marble reaches the end of the track. And I loved that. That was actually a very clever age. Very fun age, in my opinion. And it shows, since these ages were meant for teaching, it emphasizes the learning as you go. And I am so glad I had a chance to play that game, even though it was later. And if you are a fan of the Myst series, I do recommend Exile. It is a brilliant addition to the series. No, there was no need for any retconning with its addition. And it's something you should play. And seeing Brad Dourif play the villain in this, it just shows how good of an actor he is. And he even said that doing this Myst 3 was difficult because he wasn't directly interacting with people. But I think he did a very good job. You may think so too when you play it. So I'm glad if you're still here at the end, I'm glad you've listened to me ramble on about Myst 3 Exile. Great game. And hope you subscribe to the channel. Check out some of my other retrospectives. Check out the playthroughs too, because I always put these, when I get them uploaded, when they go live, they are always part of the playlist at the end of the playthrough of the game. Again, this is Rich Kale here on YouTube, Rich Gen X elsewhere, and I hope you've enjoyed this. Bye!